Hello and welcome to Durumu 10-man normal mode. Durumu is basically a 3-stage fight, and you will have to repeat the stages until you kill him. So let's start with the normal stage, which is the stage that he starts in. Tanks have 2 debuffs to keep an eye on: Serious Wound and Arterial Cut. Both of these debuffs are applied through Hard Stare. Serious Wound reduces healing received, and tanks will need to taunt off each other when their stacks run out. We found 4 to 5 stacks to be about right. Arterial Cut is a damage over time move that can only be removed by being healed to full health, so healers need to pump heals into the tanks with Arterial Cut, and tanks need to use some self-healing moves as well. Next up is Force of Will. This creates a weird patch of purpley squiggles on the ground. This needs to be avoided, otherwise it sends you flying. Lingering Gaze will be used on random players. These players should run out sort of midway out from the boss and plop down the purple muck there. The reason I say this is because we found that it didn't get in the way of navigating the maze too much that way. Try not to put the muck down on top of another muck, and avoid the area close to the boss unless you want to put it right underneath him. The boss will also use Life Drain, which stuns the target and deals damage while healing the boss. The damage and the healing increases the longer it is left on one player, so people need to walk into the way of the beam in order to take the debuff off and prevent too many stacks. If you are wiping on the Enraged timer, try handling the Life Drain better, as it can easily heal the boss for massive amounts. The next stage is the Beam Phase, where the boss will put beams on 3 players: a blue one, a red one, and a yellow one. They will all turn into cones, and while the blue and red ones will follow the person they were connected to, the yellow one will just rotate around the room by itself. You will want to split up your raid into the different cones to help soak the damage they deal, as it splits it between the players in the cone. We put a ranged DPS with the 2 tanks in the yellow beam, healers and a couple of ranged DPS in the blue, with the rest in red. Keep in mind that players will need to be swapped around. For example, if somebody who normally stands in blue is the target of the red beam, somebody normally in the red beam will want to go to blue. Right at the start of this phase, you can also see a few lights around the room. The most important one to look for is the blue one, as the person with the blue beam should keep it away from that blue ad. Players in that yellow beam should just move around following the beam, while the players in the red beam should rotate the beam around the room to discover these red ads called Crimson Fogs. As soon as one is revealed, the players should stop moving the beam and kill the ad. Once killed, they can move on to the next. There are 3 ads in total that need to be killed to exit the phase. The sooner this is done, the better. If you move too fast though, you won't be able to kill the ads before the beam revealing them moves on. If this happens, it will deal massive damage and probably kill a few people, possibly wiping the raid. The player with the blue beam needs to be standing so that the beam does not show up the blue ad, so anywhere is fine as long as the blue ad won't be in the beam. Again, you can see it for just a few seconds as this phase starts. If the blue ad is revealed, it's GG wipe time. Please try again later and clean up on aisle 7. Every so often, usually soon after a beam phase, the boss will use Disintegration Beam. This phase is not as bad as it seems, so before I go over how to handle it, the best advice I can give you is to just remain calm. Now when this phase starts, the boss will begin shooting a beam at the entrance of the room. The beam does not hurt you right at this stage. You need to keep your eye on the left and right sides of the boss to see where the maze starts. Do not stand behind him during this. It's easiest to just stand in the beam right at the start here. Then if you have your graphics turned up, you will see some purple lightning on the ground. This is the side you will need to enter the maze from. If your graphics are turned low, just go to the side that first spawns the purpley muck on the ground. So if the right hand side gets the purpley lightning and the muck first, starts there, then go there to begin. There are 2 paths here, ranged and melee. Ranged will take the path towards the back of the room, while melee will take one right near the boss. Tanks must be on the melee path, but otherwise it isn't particularly important. Now the muck will leave gaps that you can walk through in order to not get hurt, but at the same time, the boss has the beam that will one-shot you, chasing you. So while you must move rather quickly, it is important to be careful in this maze. Don't dawdle, but make sure you are stepping somewhere safe first. Keep in mind that the muck likes to disappear for a second and then reappear again, so don't get caught by that. If it comes down to it, remember your defensive cooldowns. You can use Bloodlust right at the start of the fight. A few last tips for you. During the beam phase, the boss will still use all his abilities from normal phase. We found that due to the size of his hitbox, we could stand quite far away from the boss while tanking him, which made it easier for players to interrupt life drain from us. That's it for this fight. I hope you enjoyed this guide and found it helpful. And if you did, then hit that like button and post a comment, as it really helps me out. And of course, subscribe for more videos. Good luck, and I hope you like this boss as much as I do.